Vergil Ortiz Jr.'s promoter Oscar De La Hoya believes the fight between his young 22-year-old star and WBA welterweight champion Terence Crawford can happen in 2021. De La Hoya reveals that he's spoken to Crawford's promoter Bob Arum at his home in Beverly Hills, and he feels that it's possible to put together a Crawford vs. Vergil fight this year. After the way that Ortiz, not a 17 wins, 0 losses, 17 knockout wins, obliterated former WBA 140-pound champion and Maurice Hooker last Saturday. Now, today La Hoya thinks he's more than ready to challenge Crawford with 37 wins, 0 losses, 28 knockouts, and beat him. It's going to take a lot from top-ranked promoter Bob Arum to get Crawford to agree to fight the young upstart of a duel, as he seemed unimpressed with his performance last weekend and disinterested in facing him. As De La Hoya points out, Crawford has no one else to fight right now, because no one wants to face him. Ortiz is one of two fighters at 147, calling Crawford out. So with the other being Sean Porter, the difference is Vergil is ready to take the fight now. Vergil Ortiz Jr. versus Terence Crawford can still happen. There is Terence Crawford out there, and that conversation has been ongoing among media folks like myself between Ortiz and Crawford, said Chris Mannix to the Zone. Do you believe that fight is realistic? It's a nice thing about it, and I guess on paper Crawford does have a lot going on this year, and Ortiz wants it at some point this year. You've talked to top rank, and you know Crawford a little bit. How realistic we could see Ortiz and Crawford fight before the end of the year? It's very real, said Oscar De La Hoya of Golden Boy Promotions, talking to Bob Arum and having lunch with him at his home in Beverly Hills. We were talking about a fight that we can make together. One thing about me and Bob Arum, we are not afraid to make fights happen. The fights that fans want to see. We talked about Vergil and Crawford, and the one thing is that we're not afraid to make the we want to make the because those are the fights that the fans deserve to watch. Do you think Crawford wants to fight like that? Said Mannix to Oscar. Look, if I were Crawford in Crawford's position, I would say, well, that what has he accomplished, or who is he? Said De La Hoya. But if no one wants to fight you now and are presenting you a risking star and Vergil Ortiz, why not take the fight? It's going to be a great fight. That's my attitude as a promoter. Maybe it's wrong or maybe it's right, but I always think of fighter as a fighter first, said De La Hoya. The Crawford vs. Vergil Ortiz Jr., and there's a good chance that it will, or unless Terence wants to hurt his career by ducking the match. Terence almost has to take the fight with Ortiz at this point, given the way he was called out by him last Saturday. If Crawford turns around and faces another lower level fighter like we've been seeing him fight, it will hurt his image. Crawford obviously wants to be a pay-per-view attraction, but he can't do that if he's turning down fights against Vergil Ortiz and saying he no longer wants to fight Spence. De La Hoya makes a confession. If you were Terence Crawford, would you take on Vergil Ortiz? Said Mannix. Hell no, said De La Hoya. See, you're not really offering much hope then if you are Terence Crawford, and if you and Terence Crawford are both great fighters, said Mannix. Reverse psychology, my friend, said De La Hoya. If Crawford isn't afraid of fighting Vergil Ortiz, and some boxing fans think he is, he should take the fight with him. If Crawford can't get Manny Pacquiao or Errol Spence Jr., Ortiz would be a great option. Sean Porter would likely be too expensive for top rank, and he's clearly not going to active his WBO mandatory and be stuck with a 75-25 split against Bud. And unless Crawford is okay with fighting Jose Oli Lopez, his rumored next opponent, he needs to show some badly courage and take on Vergil Ortiz. Let's say that Crawford chooses to make excuses and not take the fight with Vergil. If he chooses not to face 22-year-old, he'll look like he's afraid of him, unless he faces someone the fans respect like Spence or Porter, and that's not going to happen. Crawford is boxed in. He either has to take the fight with Vergil or face is another killer in Porter. As I said, Crawford fights Porter. It's going to cost Top Rank a lot of money because Sean isn't going to go the WBO mandatory route. Uh, should Vergil Ortiz fight Crawford now? He's a killer, but is ready. He's a killer, but is ready for Bud Crawford. I would say not, but the fact that he's calling out these big names, you've got to love the ambition of these young and up and coming fighter sets Vergil Mora to the zone. Hooker just went up in bus against one of what was it, the physical, most aggressive fighters we have in the welterweight division, said Mannix. Ortiz was just on Hooker from the opening bell. He and Hooker out through Ortiz in this fight, but Ortiz landed the cleaner, stronger shots. He's the exact same boss, so a destructive machine. He's doing it behind a strong power jab. I said Mora about Vergil, and he's going down onto the body and digging with elbows, and he's Vergil, a perfect shark evolving to do destruction. It's just amazing to watch. He's young and calling out these champions. I love the hunger behind it. It's going to be his team and management behind him to slow this thoroughbred down, but I love the ambition. But slow down. Vergil Ortiz thinks he is ready for Terence Crawford, but Robert Garia might think he's ready for his trainer. Those are two people we need to believe. Our thoughts matter. With Teofimo Lopez, what did I tell you? He wasn't ready for first Lomachenko, and now he's on top of the world. Maybe that will be the case here, but I would say, hey, slow down, Tiger. That's just my opinion. I love Vergil Ortiz Jr., and I love what he did tonight, but, but time is on my side. Vergil Ortiz should absolutely take on Terence Crawford right now because what he showed against Hooker is a fighter that would have excellent chance of hurting him and wearing him down. Crawford has never been put under pressure during his pro career that Vergil would put him under, and it's unclear whether he could handle it. Terence has had too many easy fights against lackluster opposition who have fought at a slow pace and let him jab and counter them. Vergil would Crawford into the type of fight that hasn't been in since his amateur days, and he might be too old and long in tooth to fight. I don't think Vergil Ortiz is necessarily on Terence Crawford's level, said Mannix. Terence Crawford is 33 years old and one of the top two pound for pound fighters in the world. But I don't see any reason to wait. Why not make Ortiz versus Crawford? What are you going to do if you're Terence Crawford and you can't get a fight against Errol Spence Jr. right now? There are no fights available at 154 pounds. Why not at the next or before the end of the year take on the challenge that is Vergil Ortiz? If you're Vergil Ortiz, what's the worst thing that can happen? You fight Terence Crawford and you lose. Well, you lost to one of the best fighters in the world. What does that matter? As long as you don't get badly hurt, which I don't necessarily believe would happen. You learn from it and then go on to the next. But Vergil Ortiz that I saw or tonight has at least a puncher's chance against Terence Crawford. After what I saw tonight, I'm going to have to agree with you, said Mora. This will be similar to Canelo Alvarez fighting an undefeated Floyd Mayweather. Yes, he lost, but he gained so much experience out of it. He still became the hashtag one fighter on the planet, making hundreds of millions of dollars. I can compare Vergil Ortiz Jr. to a young kid who's stepping up to do something else. Skill-wise, Vergil isn't on Crawford's level, but that doesn't mean he can't beat him. We've seen plenty of aging fighters with superb skills beaten by younger fighters that had the youth strength and resilience to beat him. As always, I'm the Fight Talk, and I am out.